The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to you, Lord.
Jesus was praying in a certain place. When he had finished, one of his disciples said to him, "Lord, teach us to pray, just as John taught his disciples." Jesus said to them, "When you pray, say, Father, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come. Give us each day our daily bread, and forgive us our sins, for we ourselves forgive everyone in debt to us. And do not subject us to the final test." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
I can remember back in the 1970s, in the heyday of the liturgical reform following Vatican II, when everything seemed to be so optimistic, that I think it was Gabe Huck wrote a little book, and I don't too much remember. I read the book, but I don't remember a lot about just exactly how he developed it, because the title itself was so memorable. Liturgy needs community, needs liturgy. Basically, that is expressing something of the, I guess I would call it the yin and the yang of our life as disciples and apostles. Even discipleship and apostleship are sort of a yin-yang relationship. We probe a little bit more deeply, and most everything is. And the liturgy needs community, needs liturgy, needs community, needs liturgy, needs community, needs liturgy. You know, expresses the fact that if we want good liturgy, and this is something that sort of was a mantra of mine. If we want good liturgy, we foster community. If we want good community, we celebrate liturgy well. And what that means is the things that we seek most tend to be byproducts of something else. Our prayer unfolds itself into action, and action in turn sustains our prayer. Now, that insight occurred to me kind of in connection with St. John Leonardi, who, when I first looked at him, well, okay, here's another post-Reformation era, counter-Reformation founder of a religious order, and yet, of course, just another is never quite adequate to describe somebody in their good works. Even though there are so many of them, they all have their uniqueness. He was raised in the medical profession, pharmacist. He developed a vocation to serve the sick, and particularly the poor sick. And through that, I forget the reason why, but it may have been his own health, I don't know, although he lived well into his 70s. He was rebuffed by the Franciscans. He did get ordained, presumably for his diocese. And through this dedication to ministering to the sick, he also became a fierce and loyal preacher who, at the heart of his preaching, was you have to live what you preach and preach what you live. That reform of the church, which was in everybody's mind, on one side or the other of the Reformation, reform of the church could only come through a renewal of the life of the church from the very top. And he very diplomatically also wrote to the Pope that, you've got to straighten out. And you've got to straighten out your cardinals and patriarchs and bishops and priests and all of that. If the people are going to be gathered as the Lord's people, the reform does have to come from on high. You have to demonstrate what it is you are seeking to bring about. You have to be in tune with the Lord's call in order to bring about the community that the Lord wants among us. And that so much goes for everything in our lives, including what we are doing right now. We don't celebrate liturgy to kind of get it over with at the beginning of the day and hope that we have a nice day because of it. We celebrate liturgy to give power to the work that is actually done in the field, whatever our field may be. And we also realize that the work of justice has to begin with charity. And the work of charity must lead to the work of justice. Both of those two are yins and yangs. We can't have the reform that we're seeking out there without constant attention to the reform in here. And so John Leonardi is an interesting patron when we begin to look a little bit more deeply at his life and what he may have to say to us.